Hello, my dear friends. In this session, we will see how the diffraction takes place when we consider a single slit. In the previous session, we have seen the two types of diffraction, that is Fresnel's diffraction, and the second one is Fraunhofer's diffraction. So now in this session, we will see how the diffraction takes place when we consider a single slit, and that is no doubt it is of Fraunhofer's diffraction. So here, first of all, we will draw one slit over here. So this is suppose a slit. Now see, to check the diffraction, here we'll consider one screen over here on extreme right hand side. So suppose this is screen, and again here we will need a lens. So here I'll draw one lens over here. This is this one is the lens. So this is the biconvex lens. So here I'll write L, that is the lens. This is the slit. This one is a slit, single slit, as there is only one opening. So now we will draw the incident light or the plane wavefront. Now see, as we know that in Fraunhofer diffraction, both screen and the second one is source of light, both are at infinite distance. So here I'll directly draw the light rays which are coming from a light source which is kept at an infinite distance from this particular slit. So here I'll draw the light rays. As we all know that light is coming from infinity, so all the light rays will be parallel to each other. And both all the light rays will also normal to the slit. So here I'll draw the light rays like this. Now see, here we will consider a single or the first wavefront of light at the slit or in the plane of the slit. And now I will draw the diffracted light. Again, let the phase difference be 0. That is theta is the 0. So here I'll draw this rays. Now see, as theta is 0, so all the diffracted light, it will go straight and it will hit at the lens. Again from lens, it will go straight and it will hit at the screen. So this one is the starting one or the center ray. Now I'll draw another one here, and then we have the this one above ray. This will hit the lens like this. Now see these. So here I'll number the rays. This is one, this is two, and this is three. So now here in this case, first of all, this second ray it will go straight away without any deviation, but this first and third ray they will deviate. Lens will concentrate them at a single point like this. So first and third ray it will hit the lens, it will hit the screen at point, let be this P naught. Now see, for the first and third ray they will travel the equal distance from this lens here. From this point, first ray, let this distance be d. Then again, for third ray, it will be a same distance. So for first and third ray, both will cover same distance in same time. So there will not be any path difference. So for these rays, here the value of theta, that is phase difference or path difference, it will be 0. And as we all know that whenever there is no phase difference or path difference between the light rays, we will have a bright point at this particular P naught. So this P naught, it will be no doubt, it will be a bright point. It will be a bright point, or we called it as a central maxima. We called it as a central maxima. Now this is for the light which is coming from the source, like this one. These are the incident light. Here I'll mark incident light, and this one, a red one, it is a diffracted one. So here I'll write diffracted light. So in this way, in Fraunhofer diffraction, or in Fraunhofer's case, the diffraction will take place like this. First of all, light will incident like this. This is the incident light. It will hit the slit normally. So here we have considered the first wavefront, and then from this wavefront, as we all know, according to Huygens principle, each point on this wavefront will act as a secondary source of light, and it will emit secondary wavelets in forward direction. So here we have simply considered the bundle of rays which are traveling again normal to the slit. So there is no any phase difference, or we can say all the rays have initial phase of zero. So there is no any phase difference or path difference. This light, diffracted light, will hit the lens, and then from here this biconvex lens will concentrate all these light rays at a single point, that is point P naught. And no doubt phase difference or path difference is zero. So here at P naught we will get a central maxima, or the brightest point. So now this is for the rays which have initial phase 0. Now we will draw another set of Fraunhofer wavefront where we will consider the light has initial phase difference of theta. Now let us consider another set of Fraunhofer diffraction, and here we will consider the diffracted light has initial phase theta. That means it has some angle. So here again this is slit. So this one is slit, this one is lens, and here we have screen. Again, we will consider a source of light, again monochromatic light, no doubt, which has a wavelength lambda. And now here I will draw the incident light. Again, we will consider only three rays. So this is first one, then we have this one is the second one, and here the third one. Now see, here we are going to consider that diffracted light has initial phase theta. So no doubt here, see this one is the central maxima point which we have seen in the above diagram. So this will be P naught, that is the central maxima. So here now again I'll write these are the incident light, again of wavelength lambda. And no doubt here we consider a light source of monochromatic light, or which will produce a monochromatic light. And again we know that what is meant by monochromatic. That is, monochromatic means what? Of single color. So here now we will draw the refracted or the diffracted light, which is or which has initial phase as theta. So here this is what this is theta. So theta is the initial phase. Again, no doubt we will draw the same for other rays also. So this one is for this, and then we have this one. Again, remember that all these rays will be parallel to each other. Why? Because we know that in Fraunhofer's diffraction, all the diffracted wavefronts, they have same initial phase. They have same initial phase, or you can say these secondary wavelets. These are the secondary wavelets. They will have the same initial phase. That's why they all are parallel to each other and all have initial phase as theta. So now see this diffracted light, it will hit the lens. So this is a diffracted light. it will hit the lens at this, and then again, but this biconvex lens, it will simply divert, or it will converge all these rays at a single point. So here I will draw the point, that point. So here this will be this one, and then this light like this one, and here for this third ray. So let this point be P. Now see, we don't know the nature of this point P, whether it is the bright one or the dark one. Now we have to find out the conditions when the P will bright and when it will be your dark point. Now see, if you observe carefully these two types, here I'll zoom out so we can easily compare these two. So now see here in this case, if you observe carefully this one, when initial phase is theta, and again here as I said, the light of this first ray and the third one, they will cover same distance from this lens. So that's why there is no any path difference, or the path difference is zero. But here in this second case, here if you observe carefully, there is a path difference of this first ray. Here I'll number first, this is second, and this is third. So if you observe carefully, this second ray, it will travel straight away, but this first and third, they will bend, or then they will meet at point P. So here there is a path difference between first and third ray. They don't travel same distance from the lens. There is a difference. So now, no doubt, the nature of this point P, it will depend on the path difference of these secondary wavelets, which are originating from this wavefront. From this wavefront. So no doubt the intensity of this point P. To check the intensity, we will first of all will find the path difference between these secondary wavelets. So here let the width of this slit, the width of this particular slit, let it be small a. So here this is small a. So small a is what? As I said, it is width of slit, and then we'll consider lambda. That is what? It is the wavelength of monochromatic light. So now we will find out the path difference. To find the path difference, here I will divide this particular slit into n number of parallel planes. So here I'll draw another diagram where we will divide this particular slit. So let suppose this one is again slit here. So now I simply zoom out the diagram. Okay. So here you can see here. So here I will divide this slit into n number of small parallel planes like this one, then again we have this one. So in this way we can divide the whole slit into small parts like this here. So now we have divided the slit into n parallel slits, small n parallel slits. So these are the n parallel slits, and again here let the width of these slits, no doubt they all will have same width, and let the width be dx. The width is what? Dx. So here again I'll draw some arrays to understand the concept. So here this one is the first one, like this one, then we have second one, then we have third one, like this we can draw n number of these diffracted light rays or the secondary wavelets. Now we have to find out This is suppose first, second, third, fourth, and then so on. And again, as we all know that there is the initial phase of what? So this is theta. So theta is the initial phase and it will be equal to all the rays. Now to find the path difference, what we have to do is what? We normally draw one perpendicular from here at this particular point. So this perpendicular will give you the distance between these two lines. So here now see, again I will draw another diagram here just to find out the path difference between first and second ray. So here suppose this one is the split of width dx, that is a small split. And again here we will draw two secondary wavelets like this one. Suppose this is first one like this, and then we will draw here another one. So this is first one and this is second one. And again to find the path difference, here we will draw one perpendicular line like this. So this is a perpendicular. Again this line, here I'll mark angle. So this is angle theta. This is what? Angle theta. And then this split width is dx. Now we have to find out the path difference between first and secondary wavelet. Here I'll number. So let this is A, this is B. Let this foot of perpendicular be M. So here the path difference between first and second, it will be this one. So BM. This BM is the path difference between first and secondary. So here I'll write this BM as path difference. BM is what? It is a path difference between first and secondary. Again, as this angle is theta, so here this angle will also be theta. Simple by simple geometry, that angle will be a theta. Now here we will derive the next one, that is we'll find out this path difference. Now let us consider that all these waves, they have the phase difference, let be delta phi. Yeah, I'll write this delta phi. Delta phi is what? It is the phase difference. It is a phase difference corresponding to this particular path difference, that is BM. Now see, from this diagram we can easily find out the value of right angle triangle AMB, this BM, or we can first of all write this sine theta. Sine theta will be what? It will be opposite upon hypotenuse, so it will be BM upon AB, and therefore here we can write this BM is equal to AB sine theta. And again from the diagram we know that the value of AB is dx, so it will be a dx sine theta. So this dx sine theta, it is what? It is the path difference between these first and secondary. So this is the path difference. Now let the phase difference be delta phi, as I have already written it. So here I'll write therefore phase difference is. Now see, as we all know that if there is a path difference of lambda, it corresponds to a phase difference of 2 pi. Always remember this one. When there is a path difference, you will write path difference, and this is phase difference. So always remember, when there is a path difference of lambda, it corresponds to that there is a phase difference of 2 pi. So here path difference is dx sine theta. Let the corresponding phase difference be delta phi. Corresponding phase difference, it will be delta phi. Always remember this. Lambda, it belongs to 2 pi. If you draw a simple wave over here, as we know that this is wavelength, that is lambda, and these are 0, pi, and here 2 pi. So lambda is the path difference corresponds to the phase difference 2 pi. So here again we will find the value of this here delta phi. So from this simply cross multiply these two. Here we'll have the delta phi as 2 pi by lambda into dx sine theta. So this is a phase difference between those small first and second rays, delta phi. Now remember, if you, again I'll come to this diagram, just look at this one. Here, for all the rays which are coming at point P, we have taken the total path difference or the total phase difference is phi, and the phase difference between these two adjacent, this one adjacent rays, it will be delta phi. So here we can say that the total phase difference for the light which is coming at point P, that will be what? Here I'll write. Therefore, total phase difference is that is phi, it will be, see this one 2 pi by lambda, and here instead of this dx we will write total width, that is small a. So it will be a sine theta. So this is total phase difference for the light which is coming at that particular point P. Here we have simply substitute this dx or replace this dx, that is the small width, and this a is the total width. So here this is the phase difference between the light rays which are coming at point P. Now see what all these light rays, what they did at this particular point P. Here all these lights coming from lens, they will produce the disturbance at this particular point P. They will produce a disturbance, and then we can find out, now we have to find out the resultant amplitude of all these lights which are coming at point A. Now, so now to find out the resultant amplitude at this particular point P, we have to consider all the light rays which are coming, or we can say n number of light rays which are coming from these n parallel slits. And then no doubt all the light rays, these light rays, they will have same amplitude, same frequency, and same phase difference, that is the delta phi. This is, and the delta phi is the phase difference between adjacent rays. Always remember that. That is the phase difference between adjacent rays, like this first and second. So to find out the resultant amplitude, we have to consider all these n number of light rays which are originating from this n parallel slits. So here I will draw the resultant phasor. Again, see phasor. Phasor is a term we basically use wherever we have to consider magnitude as well as phase difference. Always remember, we use a quantity which is called as a phasor, where we need to consider magnitude of that particular quantity as well as the phase difference. So here I can say that in this case here, from this n parallel slits, n number of phasors are arriving. So there are n phases, and we have to find out the resultant. Then we have to add all these n phases. We have to add all these n phasors. So here I will draw one diagram. The phasor will add like this. See, or they will form an arc like this. These are the all n number of phasors. They will form an arc. So here again I draw one center. I'll assume it here that this arc is a part of circle. Let these two lines be a radius of that circle. This is the arc. So I'll mark AB. So this one is the arc, and here I'll draw one chord, that is AB. So AB is a chord, and again this O, let O be the center of the circle. Now see, let this radius be capital R, that is the radius of a circle which contains this arc AB. And arc AB is what? It is the resultant amplitude. Always remember, it is what? Arc AB is nothing but it is the resultant amplitude, or it is the resultant of n number of phases which are coming from the n parallel slit, small slits, again of width dx. So now here I will draw one perpendicular from this point O on chord AB. And again, we all know that a perpendicular from center on the chord bisect the chord. So these two, suppose this is point M. So AM will be equal to BM. Here I'll write this AM will be equal to BM. Now let this angle. Now see, the whole total angle will be phi. That is the phase difference, resultant phase difference for this arc AB. Let this angle, no doubt, see, as AM and BM are equal, or this perpendicular bisect the chord as well as it will bisect this angle O. So this angle will be pi by 2, and this will also be pi by 2. Now we will assume the maximum intensity as well as the resultant amplitude. We can say, first of all, we will find the amplitude and then we'll go for the intensity. Okay. Now see. Now see, let us consider this arc AB as EM. EM, okay, this is EM will be what? It is the amplitude at center. Let this be amplitude at center. That is central maxima. And this chord AB, this will represent the resultant amplitude at P. It will be what? Resultant amplitude at point P. Let that be E theta. Now see, this RKB, it will give you the maximum amplitude. That is the amplitude that is at center. That is, we have defined that point as a P naught. And this chord AB, it will represent the resultant amplitude at point P. So here, now we will find out the amplitude over here. Now see, as I said, here I'll write as angle AOM is equal to angle BOM, that is pi by 2. So here I'll write this as here this angle AOM equal to angle BOM, let is pi by 2. But as we know that we have found out the value of phi here, see this one, phi equal to 2 pi upon lambda into A into sine theta. So we will simply substitute this phi at this particular in this equation over here. So this will be what? The 1 upon 2 will be here apart, and instead of pi, we will write 2 pi by lambda into A sine theta. 2 pi by lambda into A sine theta. Again here, this 2 will get cancelled, and then the rest of the term here I'll write this pi upon lambda into A sine theta. This is the value of pi by 2. Let this value be alpha. Remember these equations. Let this value be alpha. Now see, now we will go for the path difference. So here I will write here as AM equal to BM, no doubt. Therefore, AM equal to BM. Again see, AM equal to BM, but we have seen that arc AB or the chord AB, value of chord AB is E theta. So here AM equal to BM equal to, I will write AB upon 2. That will be what? AB upon 2. So here I can write this AM equal to BM equal to, the value of AB is E theta. So it will be E theta by 2. It will be what? E theta upon 2. So let this be equation number 1. Again, see here in triangle, here, in triangle AMO or OMA. Yeah, I'll write in triangle OMA. Again, we will find out the value of AM. So we'll consider sine phi by 2 will be equal to, that is AM upon what? OA. So here again I can write this AM is equal to OA into sine phi by 2, and again the value of OA is nothing but a radius of that circle. So AM will be equal to R into sine phi by 2. So let this equation be equation number 2. So now from equation 1 and 2 we can write as it's both have same LHS. So here I'll write, therefore this E theta upon 2 will be equal to R into sine phi by 2. It will be what? Sine phi by 2. And again we can find out the value of E theta as this 2. Here it will be a multiplication. So it will be 2 into R into sine phi by 2. So this is the value of what? E theta, and we know that what is meant by E theta? It is the resultant amplitude at point P. That is what? Resultant amplitude at point P. Now we will find out the value of this particular part, that is RKB. Here I'll write this RKB as EM, and this was chord AB is what? It is E theta. So now we will find out this EM in terms of radius. So again, as see, we have a basic formula that this arc is what? Or we can say the angle at this particular center. This angle will be equal to this arc length divided by a radius. This angle is equal to arc length divided by what? A radius. So here I will write the value for now here. So therefore, here we have, or we know, this angle will be equal to arc divided by what? Radius. So here the angle, whole angle is what? It is phi. Complete angle is phi. Phi equal to arc. Arc length is what? It is EM upon R. And here again I can write the value of radius, R equal to EM upon phi. So this is the value of radius. Now we will put this value into this equation. Here equation number 3, let it be. This E theta equal to 2R sine phi by 2. So here instead of this R, we can write this value, that is EM upon phi. So here I can write like this. Therefore this E theta will be equal to 2 as it is into this EM upon phi into sine phi by 2. Or for our convenience, we write this equation as E theta is equal to, here I'll write this EM into sine phi by 2 whole divided by this 2, which is in multiplication with this EM. We can write this equation as phi by 2. And again, if we observe here in this equation, phi by 2 equal to pi upon lambda into a sine theta, we have assumed this value as alpha. So in short, this phi by 2 will be equal to alpha. So here we can substitute this value. So here equation will be E theta will be equal to EM into bracket. This will be sine alpha divided by alpha. The equation is what? E theta equal to Em into sine alpha upon alpha. So this is the equation of resultant amplitude in terms of maximum amplitude or the amplitude of central band, and alpha is again phi by 2, and phi again it is a phase difference. It is what? Phase difference. And again we can convert it into a path difference also, because here we all know that here we have the value of phi, this one, as phi equal to 2 pi by lambda into a sine theta, and this a sine theta, it is nothing but it is the path difference. So we can easily convert phase difference and path difference. So here this is the equation for resultant amplitude. Now see, we have to find out the intensity. Now we know that intensity, it is directly proportional to the amplitude square. So again here I'll write. So this is, we have we have this intensity is directly proportional to amplitude square. So here we can write the, for this I, again I theta, that is a resultant intensity, it will be directly proportional to resultant amplitude square, and this Im will be directly proportional to this Em square. So now again I'll square this equation. So it will be E theta square is equal to Em square into this sine alpha upon alpha whole bracket square, and then we can substitute this E theta square as I theta will be equal to, this is Im into again this term as it is, sine alpha upon alpha bracket square. So this is what? This is the equation for resultant intensity at point P. This will be the resultant intensity at point P. So this is the final equation for intensity and amplitude. Again, we will short revise exactly what we have did over here. So here, see, I'll come to the first diagram over here. So remember, this is the incident light which is coming from a source, light source, or monochromatic light which is kept at infinity. So this will be a plane wavefront which is incident here at the slit, and again no doubt it will be normal to the slit. Then we have considered the basic case, that is all the light rays will travel along a straight line, that is they have an initial phase as 0, and then this biconvex lens, it will converge all the light at this particular point P naught, and as I said, the path difference or the phase difference is 0, therefore this band has to be a bright band. Then again we have considered another one, this one over here. Here we have considered the bundle of rays or the bunch of rays which are or which have initial phase as theta. So here again this is the plane wavelength or the incident light, and then again this one is the diffracted one. Again this lens, it will converge all the light rays at point P, and again as I said, here in this case there will not be a zero path difference, there will be a path difference. So to find out that path difference, we have simply divide the whole this whole width, slit width, into n number of parallel slits, small n number of parallel slits of slit width dx. So dx is the slit width. Then again we have considered these rays over here to find the amplitude. Then again here we have considered, see this one, these light rays, first, second, third, and then again we have assumed that the phase difference between first and second, these two rays which are nearer to each other, they have a phase difference as this delta phi. And then here we again zoomed out this particular this part. So here that is the part. This one is the first ray. This one is the second. And if we draw a perpendicular from this A here on this second ray, we'll get this BM as a path difference between first and second. So BM is the path difference. Again, this angle is theta, so ultimately it will be a theta. And again, here I have written that in triangle AMB, this one AMB, again sine theta will be equal to this BM upon this AB. So here the equation is sine theta equal to BM upon AB, that is BM equal to AB sine theta or dx sine theta. And then again from path difference we can easily find out the phase difference, as we know that lambda, if there is a path difference of lambda, it corresponds to 2 pi, that is a phase difference. So here path difference is dx sine theta and phase difference is delta phi. So we can find out the equation or the value for this delta phi, this one. So delta phi will be equal to 2 pi by lambda into dx sine theta. Then again this is the phase difference for two adjacent small rays, or for those rays which are coming from those n parallel slit. So the total phase difference, this total phase difference means what? It is the phase difference between, see here again I'll go back to this, that is the phase difference between first ray, this one, which is starting from the top of this slit, and this last ray which is starting from the bottom of the slit. So the phase difference, total phase difference means the phase difference between this ray and the this bottom ray, always remember. So that is what, that is that phi, and d phi is the smaller one. So here we can easily write this total phase difference as phi equal to 2 pi by lambda. We will only change this dx by a. A is the total slit width. Sin theta will be as it is. So this is, again here we have defined one term, that is phasor. We all know, you must have here this term in EM waves, or we can say electromagnetic induction, which was in your 12th standard, phasor diagram. Even if you have drawn those diagrams in AC circuit also. So phasor is a term which we use where magnitude and phase difference both are important. So here, as I said, to find out the resultant amplitude at point P, we will check the amplitude of each ray. Here, this one, each ray. So each ray will be, or it will contribute a single phasor. So ultimately, as there will be n number of rays, so there will be n phasors which have started from this n parallel slits. And to find out the resultant amplitude, we simply have to add all these n number of phasors. Why? Because all these n number of phasors, they have same amplitude, same frequency, and same phase difference, delta phi. So that's why here, if we add all these n number of phasors, we will get a shape of an arc. We will get the shape of an arc. Here I have drawn this one. See, so here this AB, arc AB is nothing but addition of n number of phases. Again, this one arc AB. So here we have chosen one center. So this arc AB is in a part of circle, has of center O, radius R. Then this total angle, it will be phi. Then if we draw one chord over here, so AB is the chord. Always remember this AM will represent the amplitude at of central band or central maxima, and this chord AB, it will represent the resultant amplitude at that point P. So if you draw one perpendicular from point O here, this perpendicular will bisect this chord. Again, it will also bisect this angle. So if total angle is phi, then this will be phi by 2 each. And then we can find out the amplitude. So here we have taken this EM as amplitude at center, this one, and this chord AB, that is E theta, it is the resultant amplitude at point P. Again, we all know that both angles are equal. So this angle AOM equal to phi by 2. Again, we know the value of phi. So here we have simply substitute the value of this phi, and then we get this one, phi by 2 equal to this pi upon lambda a sine theta, and we have assumed this value as alpha. So remember, alpha and phi by 2 both are equal. Then to find out this EM, or the relation between EM and E theta, again here this AM and BM will be equal. So here this will be half of the AB. So this will be E theta by 2. Then by geometry, simple geometry, we can find out sine phi by 2, and then we have find out this am as r into sine phi by 2. Then to find out the value of r, again we have considered the simple one, the basic formula here. Angle will be equal to arc upon radius. So here radius will be em upon phi. So we can substitute this value in this equation, equation number 3. Here in this equation, instead of this r, we have written em upon phi. So simply we have got the relation between this E theta, that is the resultant amplitude, and Em, that is the maximum amplitude. And finally we have the equation of this amplitude as this one, E theta equal to Em into sine alpha upon alpha. And then we can easily convert it into the intensity, that is I theta equal to Im into sine alpha upon alpha whole bracket squared. So this is all about the equation of resultant intensity at general point P. So by choosing the value of these phi or alpha, we can find out, or we can easily find out the nature of particular band, whether that point will be bright or dark. So my dear students, I hope you understood whatever I taught today. Kindly go through this particular session very carefully, as this particular part is much important while considering your university examination. So just check it out once, clear all the concepts, and then the simple mathematical equation to find the value of this intensity and amplitude at point P. Now we'll see how the bands obtained on the screen, or what is the condition for minima and maxima. So first of all, we will find out, like, when there is a principal maximum, we say that at point P naught we get a principal maximum. So here this is principal maxima. Now see, principal maximum means what? When we'll get the maximum point. So see here, this resultant amplitude, that is E theta, it will be maximum when this value will be maximum when the phase difference, that is, or we can say alpha, when the value of alpha will be 0. So when the value of alpha will be 0, that is, here I'll write this sine 0, it will be what? 0. So for this value alpha equal to 0 or sine 0, this alpha equal to 0, that means what? All the phasors are in phase. All the phasors are in phase. So whenever they will be in phase, ultimately there will be a bright band. So here all phasors. So here I can write this as, see, at, see, alpha equal to 0, that means what? Phi will be equal to 0. Or here we'll write the equation of alpha. See, the value of alpha is what? It is pi upon lambda into a sine theta. So if this alpha is equal to 0, then what happens? This pi upon lambda into a sine theta, it will also be equal to 0. Then we can write this as a sine theta equal to 0 or sine theta equal to 0. That means theta has to be equal to 0. So when all the diffracted lines of secondary wavelets, when they have a phase difference or initial phase as 0 degree, ultimately we will get the maxima, or we called it as a principal maxima. And this principal maxima, where it will get? It will obtain at P naught. It will obtain at P naught. And we know where P naught is. This one. See this one. This P naught. This one. So here this P naught will be, it is the principal maximum or principal maxima, which will obtain at theta equal to 0. Now we will find out the condition for minima. So again here I'll write minima. So For minima in other here, minima means what? Here the intensity will be equal to 0. Minima means dark band, that is the intensity has to be equal to 0. So here I theta will be 0. So now see, if you check this equation, I theta equal to Im into sine alpha upon alpha whole bracket square. So here if this sine alpha is 0, ultimately I theta will be equal to 0. So here to be this I theta be at 0, here I'll write this I theta equal to 0. That implies that this sine alpha has to be equal to 0, and therefore if sine alpha is equal to 0, then alpha will take values as pi or 2 pi or 3 pi and so on. As we all know that sine pi will be 0, sine 2 pi will be 0. So here in general we can write this as alpha will be equal to m into pi. Here m is an integer. Again I'll write plus minus sign. This plus minus sign means what? This minima will obtain on the both side of P naught, that is central maxima. So plus minus sign denotes that minima will obtain on both the sides or either side of that principal maxima. So this is the condition. This is what condition here I'll write, where this m will be equal to, the value of m will be 1, 2, 3 and so on. Remember, the value of m will not be equal to 0 because it will be what? That is the condition for principal maxima. So here m will take values other than 0, that is all the integers other than 0. Again plus minus 1 and all. So this is the condition for what? Minima, and this is the condition in terms of phase difference. Here again remember, we can write this equation as like this also. See here, this equation. Here this is pi, so I can write this as 2 into pi by 2. Then for 2 pi, I can write 4 into pi by 2. Then for 3 pi, I can write 6 into pi by 2 and so on. So here I can say this alpha is what? It is m into, or just replace or we use another letter, let it be n into pi by 2, or we can say it is, see, 2 4 6 means what? Even multiple of pi by 2, even multiple of pi by 2. So this is another way. See, so we can say that when minima will obtain when the phase difference is even multiple of pi by 2, definitely will get a minima or minimum intensity point. Remember these conditions in both the terms. Again, now we will find the path difference for minima. So here I'll write, since again see the value of alpha is what? Here it is pi by lambda into what? A sine theta, equal to the value of alpha is what? It is plus minus m into pi. So on both sides this pi will cancel, and this a sine theta will be equal to plus minus m into lambda. Plus minus what? M into lambda. So this is the condition for minima in terms of path difference, because a sine theta is nothing but it is path difference is equal to plus minus m into lambda. Path difference will always be in terms of lambda, that is wavelength, and phase difference it will be in terms of angle, that is in terms of pi we can say. So this is what? This is the condition for minima or the minimum intensity point in terms of phase difference as well, this one, and in terms of path difference, these are the conditions. Remember this one also. This is also important, that minima will obtain when the phase difference is even multiple of pi by 2. Now we will find for maxima. Now see, as I said here, if we draw general pattern, this is P naught, which will be your central maxima, and suppose these are the minima points. These are what? Minima. Now see, in between these, that is central maxima, this minima, and this one is a minima. This was first minima, suppose this is second minima. So in between these two successive minima will get another maxima. This will be a maxima of bright point. Now we will find the condition for these bright points. We called these bright points as secondary maxima. We called them as secondary maxima. I'll tell you why we called it as a secondary maxima, and for this center one, it is a principal maxima. Now see, for secondary maxima, the condition is what? Here we have chosen the angle as pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. So now for secondary maxima, the angle will be what? It will be, so here alpha equal to, the first angle will be 3 pi by 2, then next will be 5 pi by 2, then 7 pi by 2, and so on. So in general, we can write this as plus minus into bracket m plus 1 by 2 into pi. M plus 1 by 2 into pi. Again here, the value of m, it will be 1, comma 2 and 3 and then so on. So again here, see, we can write these angles as, this is a 3 pi by 2. So I can write this as 3 into pi by 2. Then 5 pi by 2 means 5 into pi by 2. Then 7 into pi by 2. So here we can say that this alpha for secondary maxima, the condition is alpha has to be odd multiple of pi by 2. It will be what? Odd multiple of pi by 2. So see, remember these two conditions. For minima, it is even multiple of pi by 2, and for secondary maxima, it is odd multiple of pi by 2. These are the conditions for minima and secondary maxima in terms of phase difference. Now we will go for path difference. Here again, here I'll write this path difference is what? See, alpha equal to, it will be pi divided by lambda into a sine theta. It will be equal to this plus minus m plus half into pi. Again pi will get cancelled, and here path difference, that is a sine theta, will be equal to, it will be plus minus m plus 1 by 2 into lambda. So this is the condition in terms of path difference, and a sine theta is nothing but a path difference. So now see why we say that this one P naught is the principal maxima and others are secondary maxima. Here see, as we have the equation here, I'll write, we have the equation is what? The intensity equation. It is I theta equal to Im into sine alpha upon alpha whole bracket square. So here this will be what? I theta upon Im equal to, it will be sine alpha upon alpha square. So here now we have to find out for secondary maxima. So for secondary maxima, the condition for alpha, the value of alpha are what? Plus minus this m plus 1 by 2 into pi. So if you substitute this in above equation, we'll get I theta upon Im is equal to this sine alpha. Instead of alpha, it will be m plus 1 by 2 into pi divided by alpha, that is again m plus 1 by 2 into pi, and here we will get the whole square. This will be what? Whole term square. So now if you substitute the values of m over here, see here as m equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. So if we substitute the value of m into this particular equation here, we'll get the answers as, here I'll write this I theta upon In will be equal to, if you substitute the value of m as 1, we get this particular intensity ratio as 0.045. Then when you substitute 2, we get the value as 0.016, and then next one is 0.008 and then so on. That means what? If you increase the value of m, this I theta upon Im, it will tends to 0. It will tends to what? 0. As m tends to, yeah, like here we can write this m tends to infinity. This I theta upon Im, it tends to 0. It tends to what? 0. So now see here, see, there is a reduction in intensity. There is a reduction in intensity. That's why we say that central maxima, the value of central maxima or the intensity for central maxima is different. And then on both the side, intensity goes on decreases. It goes on decreases. So this is the main difference between diffraction and interference. Remember, in interference, we get the bands, alternate dark and bright bands. Both are equispaced and of equal intensity. In interference, the intensity of bright band is equal. But in diffraction, the intensity is what? It is decreasing on both the sides from the central band. So that's why here I'll draw one diagram over here. So it will be clear to you all. So suppose this one is the x-axis. So I'll draw x-axis over here. See, this one is the x-axis and this is y-axis. Suppose this x-axis, it represents the angle, that is alpha here on both sides. Suppose this is a starting point, also angle will be 0, and this y-axis, let it represents the value of this I theta upon Im. I theta upon Im. So see, whenever theta is 0, the I theta and Im will be same. It will be what? Both will be equal. I theta and Im. So here I'll write the value as 1. Suppose this is the value 1. So now see how graph changes. Here the graph is from this highest point at 0, the intensity will be maximum, and then intensity will decreases like this. So here you will get first minima. So this will be a value of pi. This will be an angle pi. And on this side again the same one. Here this is again pi. And then the next wave, it will be of lower intensity. As value is what? It is C. Value is just 0.045. So intensity will be what? The graph of intensity will be like this one. Here. Here it comes second minima at 2 pi. Then again for next I'll see the value of intensity will be what? It will decrease like this. So here we'll draw the line. So this one. And then intensity will be here on this side too. So now we can draw the graph like this. See, intensity will goes on decreases and it will tend to 0. This will be 4 pi. On this side again same, this one, then this one, then this one, and then intensity will goes on decreases as this alpha increases. The value of alpha increases. So this is the graphical representation for diffraction pattern when we consider single slit, and no doubt it is of Fraunhofer's diffraction pattern. So this is the diffraction pattern and these are the values, and there is a reduction in intensities on both sides of this graph, on both the sides. And this is the central maxima which has highest intensity. On both the side intensity will decrease on this, and these are the points where you will get the minima. So this is on this side, this is first minima, this is second minima, and this is third one, and then so on. So this is all about the Fraunhofer's diffraction pattern when we consider single slit. When we consider single slit. And see, as I said here, as m tends to infinity, or we can say alpha tends to. As alpha tends to infinity, this value of I theta by Im, it tends to 0. It tends to 0. So, my dear friends, I hope you understood everything that we discussed in today's session. This part is much important while considering the university examinations, and this is the easy one also. Just remember the keywords or key points in this particular topic is the first of all understand what is meant by phase difference, how they comes or how wave interfere each other, how they meet at this particular point, why we use the lens, because without lens we cannot focus all the light rays at single point. So that is the lens which we use only in Fraunhofer's case. In Fresnel we don't need any lens. Then we, to find the amplitude and intensity, we divide the whole lens or the whole slit width into n number of parallel slits. Then we found out the phase difference for the smaller one, that is the delta phi, then phi, and then finally we add all the amplitude vectors or the phasor quantities to get the resultant amplitude, and ultimately then the resultant this intensity. This way, this equation. So remember these two equations also, as we will solve some problem on this topic too. And then focus on this principal maxima. The condition for principal maxima is what? That value of theta has to be equal to 0, and no doubt alpha will be 0 again. So for this value, or whenever all the phasors will be in phase, the value or the point will be principal maxima. That is the central brightest point of the whole pattern. And then we have condition for minima. The minima condition is either you can remember this one, even multiple of pi by 2, or plus minus m pi, or plus minus m lambda in terms of path difference. And for secondary maxima, the condition is odd multiple of pi by 2, or these two conditions in terms of phase and path. And then we have this particular graph, that is the diffraction pattern in case of Fraunhofer's diffraction. For single slit, intensity will decrease on both the sides. As alpha increases, intensity decreases. So I hope you understood everything. Go properly through the session, check it out, all the concepts. In next session, we will go for the Fraunhofer's diffraction pattern only, but that is for double slit. We will see like what will happen when we use double slit instead of single slit. So see you all in next session. Thank you so much.